Check, check,
बढ़िया.
check.
Start करें. Hi guys, what's up? I know you're seeing me after a very long time. It's because I got stuck with a family emergency, and thankfully, through God's grace, that emergency came to an end, and now I have returned.
Yeah, good to have you
And
back, Jay.
due to the unfortunate set of events that happened in front of Red Fort in Delhi, we thought that it is a very good time to, not a very good time, but an opportune moment for us to give our thoughts, give our opinions, and give you some idea with respect to what happened and what caused those bomb blasts, or the bomb blast and the preceding set of events. So, as you may all know by now, there was a massive explosion that happened in front of the Red Fort, and it led to around 13 deaths and somewhere around 30 people being hospitalized. And a lot of questions have suddenly returned to the minds of ordinary Indians. They have started revisiting the dark times that bestowed them, specifically during the operational peak of the Indian Mujahideen, specifically from the time between 2005 till 2013, where they conducted attacks in almost every major city of the country, right from Delhi 2005 to Delhi 2008 again, then the train bombings in Bombay in 2006, 2008 bombings in Ahmedabad,
The Pune
the
Bakery,
Pune bakery
the
bombings,
Delhi
the
High Court.
2007 Hyderabad bombings. So a lot of attacks were conducted, and hundreds and hundreds of people died, almost touching the thousand mark. And today we're going to basically take you back in history and in time, and try to make you understand as to why these organizations started and what were the what led to the particular event that we just witnessed.
Yeah,
The first, we're going to focus on Indian Mujahideen, because this attack that happened was very similar to their module, but also very different. There are similarities, but it is also different, and we'll explain as to
yeah,
why they are different.
yeah. I think, Jay, there was an analysis by Shekhar Gupta on Cut the Clutter. It was about the 1993 Mumbai serial bombings, and there was a assessment in the Mumbai police that the attacks there were as tragic and unfortunate as they were not as bad as they could have been for the security apparatus, because after a point a bunch of weapons and a bunch of like lethal explosives and material was recovered also by the Mumbai police in the days after and leading up to the attack. So the bombings were maybe not as lethal as they could have been in some ways, although many people died. But there's a line of thought that believes that the whole city of Mumbai could have been kept at siege had more weapons, like the ones that were being stored at the famous Bollywood actor Sanjay Dutt's home. If they were all deployed on time, in a time when most of Mumbai police did not even have AK-47s, they were using 303s. Then the whole city could have been held hostage or besieged for a much longer period of time. So I think there is a similar tinge to this event. So it has a similarity in my head. At least that's how I'm viewing it. I'm not saying that this is a very good analysis, but look at it like this: Haryana police, JNK police, and Delhi police were, sharing notes and cooperating on how to raid premises of various buildings where they were arresting. These white collar sort of terrorists or alleged to be terrorists, and they were recovering large amounts of explosives, weapons, and so from what I understand, that what the plan was originally was way more sinister. And there's a line of thought in the intelligence and the media that believes that the one carried out at Red Fort was possibly a panic strike because all these weapons and caches were being recovered. So that raises a kind of a complex question around the fact that whether this was an intelligence failure or was this actually a successful operation, because it eventually didn't lead to as many casualties as it could have, because the idea and the intent was clearly to do a massive theatrical, almost once in a lifetime kind of serial bombing event all over Delhi, which was, I think, foiled by the JNK police, Haryana police, Delhi police, this coordination. However, having said that, we still did not prevent the blast that happened in Red Fort, and I think, even one loss of life is one too many. So about 13 people, I believe, have now passed away, and many more are in critical condition. So uh, I don't know where to find myself on this, because in a way you can see that the security apparatus was working. So I don't want to go as far as saying that this was an intelligence failure, because even the most heavily policed societies in the world get attacked sometimes. So unless you want to turn Delhi into, like, for example, August 2019 Srinagar, that every corner is being policed every minute, slip ups could happen. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily the security force's fault, but there should be some internal security reforms as well. We'll talk about that. So, Jay, let's get your thoughts before that.
Yes, I totally agree with you. The thing is that the intelligence was that there are three people who were involved in this wider operation, and I would say three henchmen, and two of them were nabbed by by the Haryana police and the JNK police in Faridabad. The third person escaped. The third person who ended up escaping was the person who actually ended up conducting this strike in a panic, or in a state of panic. The reason why I feel that this attack was conducted in a state of panic was because usually in such attacks they use a lot of shrapnel, and this bombing did not have any type of shrapnel like nails and added, things which could cause a lot of damage to the human body. So I'm assuming that he basically worked around with a normal switch and a very generic detonator, and just in a state of absolute panic and pandemonium, he detonated himself in a busy street, and this is what caused the accident. And there is a name of another university that is coming up, which is in Haryana, which is called the Al Falah University. The people working in this university have been arrested, have been questioned. You've discovered assault rifles in their premises. So there's a lot of things that are coming out after this particular operation. And the unfortunate bit is that all of these discoveries were happening right before this one individual who basically went rogue, because he knew the most of the operation is bust. He has to do something so that something comes out and something is reported back to their masters across the border. So this is the attack that they conducted, and it succeeded in whatever it was trying to achieve. And yeah, I would call it a flop from with respect to the magnitude that they were trying to achieve,
Yeah,
because 2900 kgs of ammonium nitrate was recovered. That is a huge amount. And ammonium nitrate is a chemical which is procured mostly by a lot of farmers, and we all are aware that Haryana, Punjab, this entire belt around the Yamuna is essentially an agrarian belt. So you will get that in a lot of access and a lot of abundance. So
also, when ammonium nitrate explodes, it creates a very theatrical, very lethal explosion. We remember in 2020 there was a huge explosion in Beirut.
Beirut.
Yeah, and that in Lebanon, and that image was, I think it was August 2020, and that image was circulated all over social media. So those explosions can be huge. They can be disturbing. I do think, however, that post 2008 November, the security apparatus in India has become capable enough that you can't move that much lethal material without being surveilled. And I think that is to the success and credit to our security agencies and our state police forces and the NIA and all of that, that at least all these movements were being tracked and traced. And I can imagine that when the final raids happened in Haryana right before the explosion, a lot of these a lot of these agencies were probably tracking all this material. There are reports of people who live near Chandni Chowk already seeing a lot of CAPF, CRPF, Delhi police deployment all over the place. So there was an assessment that maybe there's a very famous Reddit post which is going around where somebody a couple of hours before the explosion wrote that is something going on here, because I'm seeing a lot of police everywhere. So, it makes me feel like they just had him. Like they were very close, like the security agencies, to even get the one person who finally went and detonated. But unfortunate as the deaths are, it is to a certain degree uh, reassuring that at least the larger scheme was foiled, and that in present days India's security apparatus, you cannot conduct terrorist attacks of that scale anymore. There was a time in the early mid 2000s, it was quite a regular occurrence. I remember there was serial blasts here in Delhi. There were regular blasts in Jaipur. Obviously, the 26/11 attacks. Then there were the era of the Batla House encounter. So I don't think that anybody in Delhi has forgotten that, because it was not that long ago. It's only 14, 15 years ago. So that's it's like a weird, unpleasant, unfortunate throwback, I'm guessing.
Yes, and
That
almost after like
Yeah.
14 years. The
Yeah.
last major incident happened at the Delhi High Court,
Yeah.
and after that, we are seeing an attack of a very similar scale, where
Yeah.
very similar number of casualties. The only difference is that that wasn't a suicide attack. So this is where it also gets very interesting. Is that in the history of mainland India, I'm not talking about JNK, but in the history of mainland India, this is probably one of the first. You can correct me in the comment sections if I'm wrong, but this is probably one of the first mainland suicide attacks that has happened after the assassination of Beant Singh, the ex chief minister of Punjab.
Right. Right. And Beant Singh was 95?
95.
Yeah. And before that was Rajiv Gandhi.
Yes, a car
Right.
bombing
Yeah.
was used.
Right.
So this is quite
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, I do think that right now is the time for some amount of introspection also. Like, I don't think that I want to be very quick to blame people. And this is where the politicians also get wrong, that there's almost a pleasure that opposition parties will find in saying things like that. You used to claim to be very serious about national security, or even the government makes a kind of a mistake. And this, I think, I really held this opinion when Pahalgam happened, that in an area like the Kashmir Valley also, in a area as conflict prone as the Kashmir Valley, although I wish that the degree of conflict there reduces now, you even there, it's very bold to make a claim like zero terrorism instances anywhere, right? Then Pahalgam happens, so it sort of pushes you back. That now we realize that even in the national capital, with all our agencies, with all our police, it is difficult to enforce zero terrorism, right? 100% success is difficult to attain, even though they eventually foiled what was about to happen. So I think there should be a kind of cooperation with respect to issues of national security. So I mean, I get that people have to do politics, but you have to realize that policing, especially uh, movement of people from within the country, and policing all the material that might be moved, it's a difficult job to do. So no government in no society, even the most heavily policed society in the world, can promise you 100% security all the time. So I think what we have to do is realize the shortfalls, work a little bit on our like emergency responses to see where the lapse happened, to see if the NIA, the Haryana police, Delhi police are coordinating as much as they should be, and not keep the dirty politics out of it. Because I think that's the only like return that you'll get from it. आप इसमें ये भी कह सकते हो ना कि जितनी बार जितनी बार आप एक टेररिस्ट इंसिडेंट पे ये बर्डन डाल दो कि ये लास्ट था, अब इसके बाद कभी नहीं होगा, तो आप इन अ वे अपने आप को कॉर्नर में पेंट कर रहे हो, टू से दैट नाउ दैट इफ एनीथिंग हैपेंस, people will always remember कि आपने बहुत bold claims कर दी. Even now I'm coming back a little bit to JNK, that if you paint a picture where you are constantly saying zero terrorism, zero radicalization, then the corner you are getting painted into is very small. Then you have to maintain security to a degree that is hard to do even in a more police
I
society.
will I will disagree with you here a little bit. The reason why I will disagree with you is because that at the end of the day, whatever politicians claim and whatever they promise, you have to take that with a pinch of salt, because a lot of things that they claim is probably not grounded in reality, but that is what a lot of their supporters and a lot of their voter bases want to hear. So say if the ruling government and the associates of the ruling government are saying that there is zero terrorism, is something that their voters, probably say in Uttar Pradesh or central Madhya Pradesh, would want to hear before they go to cast their votes, or in Bihar. So even though I agree with whatever you're saying about putting yourself in the corner, but I disagree with this side of it, because it's something that they will have to say to get political dividends. There
Yeah,
is
no,
no way
so
that they're not going to say it, and it's going to be on the opposition's shoulders to actually call them out whenever such claims fall flat, because then they are being they are being put in a position that they have to use these issues in order to garner support, or generate some anti incumbency waves against the present establishment. So this is my take. And
yeah.
another thing that I have noticed, which I feel was way more responsible, was that comparatively the amount of Islamophobic and posts which were directed against the Muslims, that has significantly reduced this time. I haven't seen that level of bigotry that I had experienced, say, during the time of the Pahalgam attacks. So this is a good sign, because what happens is that around these times the main goal is to create more civil strife, more hatred, so that people from certain communities, people from certain extreme ideologies take harsh steps, and that leads to unnecessary violence, and that somehow justifies the jihadi propaganda, and justifies these attacks that say quote unquote Hindus are facing.
Mm. What's your take on on our ability? And we had this discussion exactly around the time of Pahalgam attacks also. I think we had this on the 22nd or 23rd April on our episode that day. What is where are we on our policing? Because there can be a line of thought that believes that leadership of our investigative agencies is not that good right now, and repetitively, especially people from the military, they love to like these all these national security experts, retired generals from the military, they love to kind of post up about our IPS officers.
I I
They say that their quality is not that good. They say that our NIA chiefs and our directors of IB are not doing that good a job when it comes to intelligence gathering and all of that. This was a dominant view that came even around the time of Pahalgam. People held this view around the time of Pulwama attacks also. And when a bombing happens in a square where the prime minister speaks at the Independence Day, let's not forget the significance of targeting the Red Fort. That exact corner where the I-20 blew up is like anybody who's been to Chandni Chowk has crossed it, because that's where when you come out of Chandni Chowk, you get your Ubers over there, and you see the Red Fort, kind of
but
around it.
that's why a lot of
Yeah.
casualties are cab drivers also.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I've probably seen that stretch about a few dozen times,
Everyone
and
has.
right now it's the wedding season, so people just frequent Chandni Chowk a lot more because it's a hub for
That's
buying.
why I love the spirit of Delhi, bro. Even after the accident, today people are there buying things, getting their
Yeah,
stuff done. It's like you can't break the spirit of the city, bro.
for sure,
That's
for sure.
awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. So let's get your thoughts on that. Like, do you think people should appoint and fire more quickly?
I
I'm not saying dismiss from service,
I am
but remove from their position and appoint a
I'm
newer
coming to
guy.
that, and
Yeah.
through my own interests and reading and research, I can very confidently say that not only the Indian police, I feel the entire Indian bureaucratic system is being run by people who are not competent to hold that job or hold that position. Again, I feel it is a very extreme position that I'm taking. A lot of people will find it offensive, but it is the time to get a bit offensive, because I feel that most of the things are being run by people who are just too scared to you know counter the dominant narrative. It is very important to challenge the narratives that are being forced down your throat by the politicians or whatever the politicians want to hear. And I feel you don't have those officers anymore. You don't have officers. Who's the guy who established BSF?
Oh yeah,
So
Rustam
you
ji,
don't
KF
have
Rustam
you
ji.
don't have officers like Rustam Ji anymore. You don't have officers like KPS Gill anymore. Of course, a
You
very
don't have
controversial figure. I just feel that
you don't have the RN cows
yes,
anymore.
and
That's
we
for
are we
sure.
are lucky we are lucky right now that we're not facing such heavy militancy, such heavy violence that we used to face in the 90s, in the 80s, when Assam was burning, when JNK and Punjab were burning together. We're not seeing those we're not seeing that type of violence anymore. But say if we see that type of violence anymore, I am really scared of the
Yeah, I
Indian.
think
I'm really scared for the Indian Union.
India. I would add a step further. I think that even there's like, let's just assume there are good and bad folks everywhere. So let's assume that at least 30% of the appointable pool from the eligible batches in the IPS are super competent folks. So even there, our political control of postings has become so much that the system is designed to automatically eliminate any competent folks, and your postings are purely made on competence sorry, competence is not a factor. Postings are purely made on political will and age. So if you are the most risk averse person who doesn't offend anybody and you came into the services very young in the Indian system, you will reach the top. So what happens is that the quality of officers that are often at the helm of affairs are very mediocre folks. Like they're very risk averse folks. They're very chalta hai types, very
Bhai,
status
to the
quoist
book,
guys.
status quoist.
Yeah.
That's the
So
biggest problem.
the problem with that is, you look at our surrounding neighborhoods where the tacticians are like military folks, and the tacticians are either they're military folks or they're vassal states for other Western countries. So our surrounding countries are being run with a very tactical mindset, and India is being run even at our intelligence and policing levels with a lot of red tape. So I think that that's an area where we can use a lot of reform. I think that one of the things that I've firmly believed that is that we should hire and fire very quickly. If the Delhi police,
I
I'll tell
absolutely
you something
believe
very
that.
funny.
That's where.
I'll,
Sorry,
I'll,
sorry.
I'll, I'll just
Yeah.
end it at this. SBK Singh was the Delhi police commissioner. He was appointed like 10 days before he was removed. SBK Singh was appointed, and Rekha Gupta, the chief minister, was physically assaulted in her office, so he was removed. The chief minister can't be attacked. Fair reason. But I think that if there is a blast in the heart of the city, also, yeah, I think it's a significant ground for the CP to be removed. I think it's also a significant ground for the DG to be removed. I think it's a significant ground to appoint newer folks, appoint them from the IPS. I'm not taking a radical stance, that fill it up from a different service or something. So if a slap at the CMO can lead to a commissioner of police being removed, I think a blast is also strong enough ground. But in India, there is no culture of resigning. There was a time, I respect Nitish Kumar a lot. He was insistent on resigning when a train derailment happened, and we have completely forgotten that culture. Sorry, you were saying.
I This is where I think I have a lot of disagreements with the law firms and how these corporates operate. But this is one thing that I really like about them is that in order to ensure efficiency, they kick out a lot of people, and I feel that is what gets them the results. That is what puts people at a position to command so much respect.
Yeah.
Because if you don't kick people out, if you don't tell them to go try something else out for yourself, you will always be stuck in places where you're just like trying to establish yourself and taking the whole team down with you. So this is where I feel that corporate culture is very, very important, and it needs to permeate into this system which is so rancid, and it is still so colonial because a
Yeah.
lot of people are still joining these services to fill in their coiffers.
I was just saying that uh, you can also appoint folks who are a little junior to you. Like you brought in the corporate analogy. You don't have to wait for somebody to near his retirement to appoint them at the top position. So you can start with these smaller, little bold reforms, then move up to kind of having a more systematized kind of organization. It will affect national security outcomes for sure. Yeah, you want to?
No, I totally agree, and we need to, as I said, decolonization is not just happening, not happening at like an individual front. It should happen at the institutional level as well. We need to get out of this mindset that UPSC is just for status and just for influence, just for money, or just for your particular caste group that you're representing. It is for your country. It is for the security of your people. It is for the betterment of your people. So this type of mindset should also be drilled inside people's heads. Then only I think we'll get to see some changes.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah, I
think
guess
I'll
simple
conclude my thoughts.
simple police reforms, simple political reforms are required. And even then, I'm not saying we will achieve 100% success rate. We will never achieve 100% success rate, but policing will become faster as it has. I'm not saying it's as bad as it was in 2008. We don't want to be forever cynics. There have been improvements in the system. We have an NIA now. We have a much faster NSG now. We have more battalions of
A lot
CRPF.
of good weapons
Yeah.
with the forces also.
Yeah.
Like, everyone has a
Yeah.
special task force aside.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, the security reforms have been made, but my point is always that why leave the loose ends?
Mm.
Like, meet it, break the siege, break whatever is still holding us back. So, pun intended on break the siege. Anyway, thank you
Thank
for
you for
joining us.
joining. And yes, it's good to be back.
Yeah, thanks,
Chalo,
Jed.
bhai.
Thanks for buying.
Subscribe, like, whatever. See you
Yeah,
guys.